All right, so welcome back. Today we're going to interview my homeboy, my crew, my coach, Blake. All right, so check this out. He's going to give us a lot of information about him being a referee, about him being a gym owner, and how we got started in fighting. Oh, so by the way, for y'all that have clicked on I Train in the last video or typed it in, my buddy Chuck from that video gave me the gi. So if you go on, check out that video, I'm going to leave it at the bottom of this one, and you say I Train, you're entered to win a gi once I hit 200 subscribers. Let's go.
I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, Elevated Watches. You get 15% off when you use the coupon code CHEZ15. That's right, CHEZ15. You get 15% off your entire order. You can also enter to win free watches for a year when you go to their website, elevatedwatches.com.
All right, so Blake Grice, tell me who you are.
You just said it. Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm Blake Grice. I'm 43 years old. Anderson, South Carolina, via Columbia, via Charleston. MMA referee and a gym owner.
One of the questions I usually ask is, what made you get into the sport of fighting and coaching?
Okay, that's fair because not a lot of people know that. When I was at the Citadel in like 98, 99, I started boxing. And I wasn't that good at it. Then I started taking judo. And I was okay at that. And then I left and I was watching a highlight video on YouTube in about 2001. And a guy told me, hey, there's a gym that does that down the street in Simpsonville. And I was like, well, dude, I could do this. I could fight. I feel like I could fight. And he said, well, let's go tonight. And I went. And I met Casey Oxendine that night, who was a purple belt. Shook his hand, went out to dinner, and then did class. 6 months later, I'm in a cage. I'm in a 14-foot cage in Birmingham, Alabama, fighting, having never really taken a striking class outside of club boxing in college. And I fought, and I was hooked. But I was also scared. It was terrifying.
And how old were you?
25.
25?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I started when I was 29, 30 when I first started with you.
Yeah.
It was like that winter between those two.
Yeah.
So, what's your most memorable fight?
The second fight. I won my first fight. You talking about that I actually fought in?
Yeah.
Man, I won my first fight like quick. I didn't even get hit. So 2 weeks later, I fought a guy named Dustin Duck at what is now Center Stage. It used to be Earthlink Live. He was a purple belt. And I was like a 6-month white belt. And back then, man, it was like 5-minute rounds. You could elbow and you could spike elbow then as well. Bring your own gloves, no blood work, you know, for I think $200 or something like that. And
you said no blood work?
Yeah, no blood work. That's
new.
Dude, that's a new thing.
That's so savage.
And I fought a purple belt for 7 minutes. And I lost, but boy, it was something else. I ended up in the hospital with my brain was swelling, and he retired. He was all messed up, man. So we were both in the hospital afterwards. He never fought it. I can't say retired. No offense, Dustin. He quit after that fight. You can't retire after one amateur fight. So he quit, and I should have quit. And I had maybe 10 more after that. But that was a rough night. I got banged up pretty bad, but I banged him up too. So it was interesting.
So when did you start your gym, and what made you start your gym?
My gym. That's not a straightforward answer. So I'm going to give it kind of a roundabout.
Go right ahead.
This started years and years ago with Bam and Zach. Remember that? At Evolution Combat Academy on Whitehall Road.
Yeah.
They asked me. You know what? Let me rewind that. It goes actually back further than that to where I left that gym in Simpsonville, and then there was nobody doing this stuff, right? So myself and a couple of other guys had a 10x10 wrestling mat that we would go to Enoch Paul's karate studio in the mall and throw it down and just fight each other. And we would watch DVDs, Vale Tudo DVDs, and try to learn how to do that. So my gym really started back then, and that was probably 2002 or 3. We had 4 or 5 of us, and man, it was wild. It was really crazy. Going back to before even Peanut days, right? Before Jeremy, those old days with Chris Clodfelter and Tyson and his brother. And so it started then, and then it was like, hang on a minute, we're not doing bad at this. And Jason Miller, not the Jason Miller, another Jason Miller. It went back to that man, and then it went to Whitehall Road, and then it went to Gold's Gym, right? And then it went to Blue Chip. And these were all new partners, because I was always the brains and the muscle of the operation, but I wasn't the money. And so somebody would come in and say, hey, let's do this, let's do this. And 3 partners later, we finally figured it out. And so we're here now. But to answer your question, this gym started in 2003. But this gym, as we sit, 2016.
So, yeah, because I remember the first time I came, it was at the Goes.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I visited, and I was like, this is crazy, and I left. And then my kid and Peanut's kid went to school together.
Yeah.
And Mark was like, hey, you know, he fights. And I was like, so I knew Peanut, so that's what introduced me to you.
Yeah.
And that's when I came to Blue Chip.
Yeah. Blue Chip was really the first good gym that we had, where we kind of had it figured out. We had a purple belt coaching, and a couple of these kettlebells back here were from Blue Chip.
Yeah.
We had a ring, and we had a cage, you know, and so that was where we kind of started doing it. But I was still running a gym back then and not a business, and it was still kind of the Wild West. I mean, we were still fighting in there. And
yeah, I remember those Spar Fridays.
right, it was pretty rough. And so those places developed a few good guys like Jeremy Barrett, but those places aren't sustainable. There was no maturity there, and it was just a bunch of guys with too much testosterone and just fighting, and so that went away. It's not sustainable. So we run a business now here, and focus more on kids and families and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and fitness.
So what everybody pretty much wants to know is your most memorable fight being in the cage at UFC. Because you've had some that are just off the wall. Like you've repped a lot of guys that people know daily and speak about daily.
Yeah, I have. You're not going to like this answer, but this is the truth. And I'm going to take this I'm going to take a page from Jason Herzog's book. Every fight is the main event. Every time I ref, it's the main event. Whether it's Greenville and at the State Fair, or whether it's at Madison Square Garden, or the Forum in Los Angeles, or the Barclays Center, and I've done those. I've done it all, but they're all the same. It's a fist fight between 2 men or 2 women, and I'm instructed to keep them safe, and I treat everybody the exact same. So nobody's had a bigger impact on me than anybody else. It's all the same. When I start getting more excited about somebody, I lose focus on my job. So the kids that are fighting for the first time in Augusta next weekend, I'll treat them as serious as I did the main event in Greenville. And I know that's probably not the most glamorous answer, it's just the truth.
Hey, I mean, that speaks highly of your character, because, I mean, I was looking at some of your old videos and old fights, and I was like, oh man, I forgot he repped this guy. I forgot he repped this match right here.
Yeah, and I've been repping a long time, and so now when I'm starting to see commercials, and I go, why do I ref that? Oh, there I am in that commercial. So yeah, I see myself, and it's kind of cool. But every fight is the main event. It's their main event, and so I treat them all equal, and nobody has an impact on me. It's all the same. It's a job for me to keep them safe.
So, who is the most famous person you've met while you've been reffing? That you was like, oh my God, like this person right here.
We don't. We're not supposed to hang out with celebrities or take pictures or any of that stuff. But I will tell you, I'm a Tom Hardy fan. I am. I just like the movie Legend. He was at a fight in New York City years ago, and I didn't say anything, of course. But when we were leaving, we were walking out together, and I told myself, man, this is my opportunity. I'm done with the fights. We're not in the arena. I'm going to say hello to him. And so I did, and we had a 3 or 4 minute conversation and walked a few blocks to New York City together, which was pretty memorable. I mean, that's a big time actor, and I don't get starstruck. I wasn't starstruck by him, but he's an actor I like to watch. So that's pretty high up there of the people that I've gotten to meet. I've seen a lot of people, but we just leave them alone. They're there to enjoy the fights, and we kind of leave them alone. But when I saw him outside the arena, I thought, this is okay to do. I'm going to speak to him now.
So, another good question that somebody told me to ask you.
How does it feel training your son, and is he going to be a fighter?
It's the coolest thing that I've probably done to date. Is he going to be a fighter? That's one of those things, man, where I can't say. It's like where I went to college. I went to the Citadel. Is Eli going to go to the Citadel? If he wants to. Because if I make him do that, he's not going to survive there. So fighting is one of those things that it's up to him. I'll support him in it. It's dangerous though, man. You know, it's one thing to do it or to ref it or to corner somebody, but it's another thing to have your child do it. So if I had to choose, I'd say no, let's not. Let's do some jiu-jitsu. But you know, he'll be an adult when that comes time, so he can make that choice himself.
All right. Anything that's happened in any of your cage matches that stands out in your mind? Like anything, it doesn't have to be UFC or Bellator, just any cage fight. It's like...
The craziest thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reffing an amateur fight in Johnson City, Tennessee 15 years ago, and they ran into the cage, and the cage wall fell. Now, I may be embellishing this, although I don't think I am. I think the crowd was close. So the cage panel either fell onto the judges and like some VIPs or into the crowd. The guys didn't know it. His name was Will Blankenship. They were still fighting on the down cage, not realizing what had happened. I think they just thought they had gone to the ground for a number of seconds, to the point where I'm on the edge screaming, and I had to actually step on it and pull them off of it. That's kind of the craziest thing. Those are my dogs, gym dogs. That's probably the craziest thing that sticks out in my mind the most.
How did you get into reffing? Because I mean, I've known you doing the classes throughout the years, but all of a sudden you were just like doing local shows, doing here and there, and all of a sudden it was just like, okay, step one, boom, go. There's
a lot of steps in reffing. I'll tell you my step one. I was cornering Brian Robertson almost 20 years ago in northern Alabama at a place called Coliseum Combat. I was with Scott Hicks, and one of the refs didn't show. And we were in the rules meeting, and the guy said, the promoter said, "Can anybody ref?" I'll do it. Literally went in that night and reffed half the card, and the rest is history. I've never stopped doing it. But I said that was step one. So step two was now getting paid to do so. You know, so I didn't get paid that night. I remember calling David Oblis for Wild Bill's Fight Night like 3. Saying, "Hey, can I do a bout?" It's very similar to the way the guys do it today. I was just doing it unguided. There were no ABC classes or anything like that. I'm just doing it. And it was a lot of trial by fire, and I made some mistakes and learned a lot in that, and it was just small shows, small shows, small shows, small shows. And then you get called up to a big show, and you think you made it, and you really hadn't, and then you get called up again a year later, and then it's a real process of local shows and traveling and then bigger fights, and so it's always a work in progress, and I'm still working. I mean, you know, literally, as we sit here, it's still a work in progress for sure.
So who would you say has been your mentor that you look up to since you became a ref?
I look up to a lot of guys, but mentors, that's a strong word, but I've got two. Mark Goddard and John McCarthy. So I met Mark at Desert Force years ago, 3-4 years ago, at a show. I think we were in Jordan when I met Mark, and I didn't really know him then. I'd heard of him. We worked together, and I was just like blown away, like this dude is good. And so I probably worked, let's say 15 shows with Mark, and I've learned so much from him. Really good guy. In my opinion, he's the top active guy in the world right now. And then, of course, John McCarthy is the godfather of mixed martial arts refereeing, and I was lucky enough to work with him before he retired. You know, he's a commentator for Bellator now. I probably got to work 5 shows with John McCarthy. Learned a lot. Look up to him a lot. He's one to look to with any questions, and I still get to see him at Bellator, so that's good. But those two, definitely, I would call mentors. You know, and with that being said, though, I work with a lot of good guys, and so like the home team in California, and I'm fortunate enough to work for the California State Athletic Commission. So the home team there, I get to work with Herb and Mike Beltran and Josh Rosenthal, Jason Herzog, and Frank Trigg. So I learn a lot every time I'm there. That's a really high-level group of officials. You know, when I'm on the East Coast, I get to see Dan Mergliotta, you know, Kevin McDonald, Todd Anderson. I haven't worked with Rob Hines yet, but Rob and my boy, we're going to be working together soon. I love working with Brian Miner. I was fortunate to work at the Chickasaw Nation at the Windstar Casino and get to work with Jared and Kerry. So I get to work with a lot of high-level guys, and so I'm constantly learning and trying to improve myself. And working with high-level guys is the way to do that, watching and paying attention. You will attack, Brandon will attack Ben with hands only. He can go any angles he wants. And Ben, as soon as the leg kick lands, the drill stops and then it switches. Now if Ben just stands there and covers, Brandon's going to keep attacking. He's going to go in, he's going to try to land. So Ben's got to defend and then counter, and the drill stops and we go back. We're going to do that for 1 5-minute round, ping-ponging, back and forth. Remember, the kick, the punch. And you don't have to stand there and get beat on either.
So what you think about that video with Blake? Man, this guy's got a lot of stories. I can't believe I didn't know some of that stuff that he said. I didn't know that's how he got into it. I didn't know he had started boxing first. But anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget, subscribe, like the channel. Slap, bump, and roll.